what people do outside of this loop we consider to be secondary experiences. So for example, financial speculation is part of the ecosystem and plays a valuable role, but we consider this to be an emergent user behavior. The primary reason why collectibles become valuable over time is because of the desire of collectors to buy and own them, and this demand, or the promise of this demand, is what attracts investors and market makers to own them, to buy them. Gameplay and utility are also a big piece of the ecosystem, but we treat these as secondary experiences because of the value of the object was tied to what you could do with it or the game that it was in, that we would focus our research on the psychology around those use aspects and not around the collecting aspects. So even though we want there to be lots of games and activities and things that people can do with the objects, we're still focused on the psychology around why the original people are getting them. And these are subtle but important points that help us focus on our main mission. So why does anybody collect anything at all if it's not for money or how you use it? The answer is not so straightforward. When we interview collectors, many can't come up with a good reason or pinpoint why they actually do what they do. They just like doing it, it's fun, and it makes them happy. But one big thing we've seen over the years is expression of identity. Our collections express part of who we are to others, and more importantly to ourselves, I think. And ownership on its own is a strong form of identity expression. Another thing that is the story, another thing that has emerged is the story behind the collectibles actually matter. When and where I got it, what did I do to get it, who was with me at the time, and some people refer to this as the hunt. And the object story and how I identify with it helps connect me to the specific object, but also connects me to the brand or the character, the artist, the athlete, and connects me to the fandom, which is other people like me. So at home, I have a shelf of Funkos. They don't have any significant financial value that I know about, and I can't really do anything with them. They just sort of sit there. And like a dozen or so Rick and Morty figures greet me when I get home and show up behind me on Zoom calls. And they bring me joy because a collectible is more than just an object. It's a connection to a larger context, the Rick and Morty fandom in this sense. In a recent interview with a Subscirbe collector, they told us that they think about the act of collecting as a separate thing from the act of ownership. And so collecting to them is that a discovery and acquisition activity. And the ownership is their curation and display of the objects. And we still refer to the whole experience as collecting, but I thought this insight was helpful when thinking about how we can meet the needs of collectors with the products that we built. In a research paper called Materializing Digital Collecting, the authors, Mardon and Belk, identified elusiveness and authenticity as key aspects to the collecting experience. Elusiveness being that getting the object takes knowledge, skill, luck, time, like some kind of what we call the work of collecting. And authenticity just means it's the real thing, or whatever, however somebody perceives that to be the real thing. And addressing these can be a challenge for some digital objects. With digital objects, we're used to free and easy access to digital music and images and videos, and it's part of what makes digital content so great. Consuming digital content so great. But this goes against what we love about collectibles. So as product designers, there are techniques that we can use to add elusiveness and authenticity to the collecting experience, and even sometimes improve on the physical collecting experience. So take authenticity. Part of what makes physical objects seem authentic is tangibility. So with touchscreen devices, we can use this. We can recreate a sense of tangibility by touching your objects, obviously, particularly if the interactions with the objects feel real. And another aspect of authenticity is singular ownership. So NFTs allow us to add this constraint that was previously not available. And the NFT itself is the ownership certificate and certificate of authenticity in one. The media assets obviously can be duplicated as with any digital files, but it's the NFT that proves the ownership and adds collectible value to it. The NFT and the media assets together are what we call the collectible, or what we call the tibble in our world. Another aspect of authenticity is the story behind the object. I mentioned earlier how this is a key part of what makes a collectible important to or valuable to its owner. And with blockchain, we can actually improve on physical world with verifiable provenance and metadata and permanent alterations. and these are all add to each item's story. But the personal stories also bond people with their collectibles. And we can create environments in which people can build and tell those stories when they interact with each other. And that's something that we can do to make the overall experience more authentic and fulfilling. Finally, authenticity demands being true to the fandom. It's not necessarily specific to the digital world, but it might be one of the more important parts of the overall experience. Understanding the fans, connecting with the community, creating content that fans enjoy, and taking the time to build collectibles that people want to own and will be proud of owning over the long term. And this is the goal of creating a process, the creative process behind creating the collectibles. Elusiveness is a whole other animal, whereas the solutions for authenticity have more to do with the upfront design and development. Creating an elusive experience has more to do with how the environment is operated and the features available for collectors to create their own journeys in there. And scarcity is our primary tool to drive elusiveness, but it can come in many different forms, all of which add to the work of collecting. Quantity-based scarcity is the most obvious one, limited edition collectibles. But we can also use time as a driver. Collectibles can be available only over a certain amount of time or at certain times of the week or the year. We can use location with geofencing, so that items are only available at sporting events or hobby shops. And even scarcity can be driven by the community. So if something is popular, people want to hold on to it, then it's more scarce in the secondary markets, even if the object itself is not more rare. We can also create environments in which collectors can define scarce collecting goals. For example, someone might want all of the number 99s that they can get, or the set with the lowest serial numbers, or all the completed sets they can get. And in fact, making order out of a chaotic world is a big motivator for collecting. And if we can provide a bit of chaos, add the tools to make order out of it, with the right amount of scarcity to keep collectors in the flow zone, then we may achieve our goal of fulfilling experience. So at Tibbles, we're focused on creating experience based on the psychology of collecting and what we've learned. And some of the things that we've implemented in Susables are barter-style trading, which creates social bonds and adds to the stories behind the objects, sometimes for better or worse. We have dedicated apps for each target audience, whether it's one brand or one genre, and that allows us to authentically communicate with the fandoms and be authentic to the fans and the brand. We have tools for displaying and organizing and sharing your collectibles, which allow people to create that order out of the chaos, and also allows them to express their fandom to themselves and others. We've been experimenting with small drop sizes that spread out at different times in different time zones, which can also add to the feeling of elusiveness. And we're a mobile-first experience, which means it adds to the sense of tangibility for the objects, and the objects are more dynamic and interactive, so you feel like it's triggering those things psychologically that make you feel authentic. We have another app that's on the Tibbles platform coming out Friday beta just today, which is called One Shots, and it's dedicated to comic book content. And next year we plan on having several new collecting experiences based on the same platform, joining Susables with different IP. And so if anybody wants to be a part of that as well, find me, I'll add you to the list. And there's a lot more, obviously, that I could be talking about for another hour, but I think that's a good highlight on our approach to it. So thanks for being here, and if you have any questions or comments, please find me or email me at woody@tibbles.com, and thank you very much.